Hello, my loves. How are you? I hope you're doing well and recovering and supporting yourself through all those solar flare storms. I today am going to dive into a few things that all feel very interconnected. One, we're going to talk about the current wave of energies that are collapsing, sort of like those tower moments that are occurring, and some of the ways that we can support navigating those for ourselves and holding compassion for those that may be going through it. And also at the same time, as you yourself are here and you're strengthening into your own stability and your own energies, especially those of you that are here identifying and working with your divine, sacred, feminine essences. There was a lot of questions on the last video or two, or energies and statements around feeling confused about like detaching or letting go of the connection and feeling confused when you're always seeing it or feeling it. So I just want to go into that really quick and give a little bit of support around that, regardless of the state of your connection. Drop into learning how to simply detach in the moment. It's more about your willingness and your ability to let go and let the higher power in those moments surrender in the present moment, because the truth is that your power is in the present. That is the moment where you're going to learn the muscle, build the muscle, and learn how to be in the state of unconditional love and non-attachment, learning to step more and more into those neutral energies. So this is also interestingly coupled with some other comments that I've seen. And this is around some of you experiencing having a physical world connection with your counterpart, but they may still be in another relationship, and or you're in circumstances where you're interacting with your counterpart, but the interactions are not in those higher energies that you're wanting to experience for yourself. And this feels like a very important topic. And I know this is where some of you can get more confused because, and it makes sense. So just roll with me. You're in this state where you're pretty sure, or you know this is your counterpart and you love this person, yet you're having less than stellar interactions and treatment in the connection. And it's confusing because you're attempting to work on those higher energies of, unraveling out of the codependency and releasing the attachment and letting them go. And at the same time, accepting them and not having expectations and not having judgments. And this pocket right here is why there are times, oftentimes, where counterparts, twin flames, go into forms of separation because you're learning how to embody these things at the same time. And your system may require space to be able to embody it. And there's a specific pocket that I think is important to address in that, yes, they may be your counterpart. Yes, you may love them with every ounce of your being. Absolutely. But if you are in circumstances that are hurtful for you or them or both, because if they're hurtful for you, they're not comfortable for your counterpart either, right? Let's just keep it all the way real. And so this is where those of you that are in this position and you're aware of it, this is where you're going to be called to step in the unconditionally self-loving energies of setting your standards and loving yourself deeper so that you're not staying in the situations that are hurtful to you. Okay. So what I mean by this is you don't have to have expectations on how they respond to you, but you can have expectations and standards on what you'll participate in. Okay. And I feel like this is an important subject, and there's a lot that can be said about it. So if you guys would like, I'm going to go deeper into this subject over on my Patreon group because I want to tailor it for those of you that are specifically wanting to know about this subject. And I want to keep it clear and in the energy of clarity and compassion. So we're going to dive deeper into that over on Patreon. All right. When I record that, I will drop it over in the community tab, and I will do that until I get a rhythm of how I'm going to do these creations. So thank you for bearing with me. No, I don't plan on posting every single video on the community tab, but for now, till I get my rhythm, I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Okay, loves, thank you so much. So yes, we will address that deeper because I think this is a very important energy to work with, because it is just this dance around learning yourself. What are your boundaries and your standards for yourself? And how can you do it in a way that's loving for you and also honoring and loving for the other person? And these are beautiful things to learn and dive into, because once you're learning them in your connection, you can start to apply those to all of your other relationships, and or you can practice those in your other relationships and then apply those to your counterpart connection. Okay, loves, this is very powerful, beautiful work. And I myself have used it in supporting and transforming and empowering and strengthening myself, my connection, and relationships with my family and my friends, and in many circumstances. So definitely important topics that I saw a lot of comments on. So we will be diving into this. And it's important, even going into the messages I'm going to bring in today around the waves that we're feeling right now currently. And I spoke in the video I did 2 days ago around how we are at a very deep turning point and things are coming to a head. And regardless of where you are on your journey and in your connection, this is a very big overall collective energy that I've been picking up on. And with the feedback I've been receiving and the things that I've been witnessing, it feels like it's a good time to go deeper into it. So many of you that are here with me have gone through your deeper dark night of the soul, and you've been coming out the other side and navigating and tempering your energies and strengthening into yourself and stabilizing. But of course, in this ascension process, we're all still navigating the energies, and we're like reaching these energies in a new space and way that we haven't ever done before. So that's why we're here talking about it and addressing it together. But what I've been picking up on, and I bet some of you have too, so let me know in the comments if you've been picking up on this, that many of us that went through that initial wave and we're now stable, we've been talking about this for a few months, but it's allowing the next wave to move into their so-called like tower moments, or their wave of the old patterns and energies collapsing, where they're starting to unravel out of the codependent and karmic energies and getting into the space of embodiment. But you know, when you're going through that, initially it can feel a little bit chaotic or a lot chaotic, depending on the circumstances. But for those of you that have experienced it, you may be called to support in the stabilization of the energies on a broader level. Now, this is where your energies of dropping into practicing your temperance and your neutrality are very helpful. Okay. And when I say this, I want to address this is not just like I said with your counterpart, when I said, you're more so practicing about letting go in the moment and detaching in the moment. And like there's times like down the road, a few days or a few weeks later, the energy comes back and you may think you haven't let it go. But in truth, if it's you, it's not gonna let go for good. So that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. That's why I suggested you let it go in the moment and you build that practice of non-attachment and unconditional love in the present moment versus needing it to be a certain way all of the time. And so, any ways you can apply this to your life, any ways you can drop into temperance and not judging yourself for what you are feeling or experiencing is going to be a very, very helpful tool. Because the truth is that you're a human being on this planet. You're going to feel emotions. You're going to have opinions. You're going to witness things that you're not fond of. You're going to witness things that you don't want to participate in. And that's all okay. It's not about you accepting everything in the sense that you're going to participate in it. It's about learning to accept that things are present. Things might be present in our world that we do not like or want to participate in, but it's important that we accept the truth that it is present. Because when we can neutralize that instead of resist it, what happens is we can start to drop into those unconditionally loving energies. And then those things that may have triggered us externally or in a deeper way, we can start to feel okay and stable in their presence, not because we agree to them, but because we're becoming stronger than their pull. Okay. So this is powerful, yes, within your connection, yes, within your relationships, but really just being present in this world. And it really sort of drops us into that energy and essence and of be in this world, but not of it. Okay. And this isn't about withdrawing. It's like I said in the other video, no more walling, no more icing, no more freezing, no more running, but actually dropping in and being present with whatever is. And I know that you guys asked me, well, how do I, stop icing or walling or freezing? It's a dance just like everything else. The key number one piece is to notice that you're doing it, first off, right? To notice that that's present, to notice that you might want to run or freeze or wall off. And it's okay that that's present in your system. You notice it. You create a safe space for yourself in whatever way is necessary. And when you're in your internal energies and you're facing yourself and what is bringing up those energies for you, you can start to ask yourself what you're needing. Why are we walling or freezing or running? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What do you need to feel safe? And now, once you start to get those answers, how can you provide it for yourself? Okay, loves. So things could be coming up from your counterpart, but it could be past relationships. It could be things that happened during your childhood. It could be other lifetimes or ancestral patterns. The key piece is really dropping into that self reflective energy and holding a loving space for yourself, to hold the space and grace to allow your nervous system to feel relaxed and comfortable enough to relax and rest with you. Okay, this is all about building deeper self trust. Okay, everything I'm talking about today is about building a deeper self trust with yourself, showing up for yourself, protecting yourself. Okay. And there may be times where you're going through things and experiences, and you may not be fully embodying the full bandwidth of what you know at a spiritual level. Like at a spiritual level, a higher level, energetic level, you might know, Danielle, I want to be an embodiment of unconditional self love and an unconditional love for others. And unconditional love isn't does include you. In order for it to be true unconditional love, it has to take you into consideration. So this means if it's unconditional love for the other person, then it should not be harmful or hurtful to you in order for it to be genuine unconditional love. Okay, loves? So when you take these ideas into consideration, you start to realize, okay, so that means I'm half of the equation. And so I have to make sure that I'm not hurting or being harmed and that I'm protecting and caring for myself. And I can do it with healthy boundaries. I don't, you know what I mean? So you go through these pockets and these dances where you're going to be probably processing some of the old emotions or triggers or traumas from the past that brought those things into your system in the first place, right? But that's okay. Let those come up. Hold space for yourself. And as you hold more space for yourself and reparent and protect those parts of yourself, what happens is over time, you heal, your nervous system heals, because now you're safe. Now you're being heard. You're listening to your own self and you're providing yourself with what you've been needing. Okay. And so this is also, it all ties into the internal union with your masculine and feminine essences as well. Okay. I know I'm getting kind of deep here today, and I do not want to overwhelm you with too much information. So if you want me to dive deeper into any of these pockets, let me know. But again, as we're moving into these next levels and layers of another wave of a set of more of the collective, going through these transformations, you taking care of yourself and stabilizing and protecting yourself is going to be number one. And then number two, stepping into holding the compassion for those that are going through these processes as well. This does not mean that you step in and do it for them. If it feels correct, you be present to hold space with them if they're willing to do their part, right? But it's also important that you allow others to go through their transformation, to build the muscle, to be able to step up and match you, right? Because you know how much muscle you've built and how much stronger you've gotten by having to go through these processes and sort of sort through it on your own or find the correct supports for yourself. Okay. So this is a lot, but I do want to, in many cases, this is, they want me to bring this through. In many cases, many of you here with me are the divine and sacred feminines going through this process. Like I saw in the comments the other day, and yes, there are masculines here also working on their internal union and shoring up many of their internal feminine energies as well. As this is very common in these connections because each party, regardless of how you identify, is really working on the inner union energies. Okay, that was what the activation brought to the forefront. In fact, I myself, when I first received my activation, I was very heavily working in my internal masculine energies for quite some time. I still work with it, obviously, but that was actually where a lot of my focus was, believe it or not. So it's a big part of the process that we're all experiencing in our own way. But this does generally feel like the wave of the next levels of the collapsing of the old that are happening are for those that have been holding the space in the masculine polarity and the divine masculine collective, at least for the group that I'm here connected with for a majority of you. Now, no, I'm speaking about this in general terms, so it doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily be exactly today. This is sort of a process that's been ongoing at least for the last few weeks and months, and it'll continue to unfold over the next weeks and months, right? So that's why I always speak about the energies of space and grace as we allow ourselves to deepen into our transformation and hold space and compassion for those that are beginning to go into their next levels and layers. The beautiful part is for those of you that are here stabilizing, you're going to hold a compassion and understanding for the process. So when you're seeing it or witnessing it around you or in your connection or in the world, because it may be much more than just within your connection, You may witness it through other people, places, things, relationships in your life, but you have all of this hard-won wisdom that you've been walking through. And you can bring in the understanding that each person has a very individual experience and that they all have to step in and make their own decisions and their own choices about how they want to navigate things, and honoring their choices and decisions, and honoring equally your choices and decisions. Once again, like I said, what you're going to choose to participate in or not. Okay. I do actually, I know this was a bit, but I do feel called to bring in a couple support messages around if there's anything else that would like to come through just to support the collective here, whether you're witnessing others sort of tower moments or things sort of collapsing or shifting around them, or you're going through it yourself, because this feels to me actually like a very positive thing. But you guys know when you're going through a transformation or you're experiencing that the things that used to work for you are no longer working, it can be a little scary and disconcerting. And I think it can be helpful to just be a stable friend of reassurance, not trying to necessarily fix it for anybody, but just holding space and understanding that they may go through some uncomfortable experiences and emotions up front until they understand that this is sort of happening for them and not to them, but it takes time. All right. I think we're going to probably dive into more of this in the coming weeks on the channel to support this. All right, what else can we get? What do we got? Okay. So we got deep diver diving into a task, sort of like diving into the ocean. It makes me think of the moon card in the tarot. And the joyful muse, the inspiration card came up. So what this feels like to me is multi-layered. For those of you that have been diving deeper, right? Like when things open up and we dive deeper, we're going into sort of like the unknown, like the shadow work, right? I know you guys are pretty familiar with this by now. So when you go into these pockets of unknown, like I was just saying, it can be sort of scary. And then you get the hang of it. I don't know about you guys, but now it's sort of like, okay, there's something coming up. It's uncharted territory, but I know I'm going to be okay. I know that I just have to kind of move forward, face whatever those fears were that were in front of me, and then move out the other side. And what's happening is that many of us are getting more and more comfortable with this process. And as we do, it's like you can go through these deep, uncomfortable situations and at the same time, like drop in your joy into the places that you just opened up. And helping yourself kind of stabilize the extremes at the same time. And this is coming in a way that it might not be something that you're doing immediately, but you can bring in this awareness that as you are, say, going into something uncomfortable, or you're actively knowing that you're diving into some shadow work, you simultaneously can intend that as you work through this pocket, you are dropping in the results of your joy and your inspiration into this pocket that you've opened up. So as something opens, even if you're in there cleaning it out, you can be bringing in the essence and the energy of joy in letting that stream into where you may feel uncomfortable. It can be helpful to see it in this way. It's sort of like taking down the old and building the new simultaneously, but you're doing it with awareness through your emotions. You're not shutting down what might be uncomfortable. You're acknowledging it's present. You're letting yourself process it and you're holding yourself through it, but you're also willing to say, okay, this is uncomfortable now, and I'm not avoiding it or running it or walling or icing it. I'm sitting with it. I'm being present with it. I'm facing it head on. But I'm also aware that I don't have to sit in this forever and claim this as my full future. It's just here right now in the present. And what I'm going to do is drop in my joyful energy or call that in to join me in this space. And even if you're not feeling it immediately, just your intention and the fact that you've opened yourself up to understanding that you have the power to co-create this process, it's going to be supportive. And this may be a familiar process for many of you who have sort of identified as indigos or connect with the generally, not always, but sort of Gen X generation, where many of us came in to help support understanding the old system. We grew up in it, but then we also were kind of coming of age when things started to open up and change. And so we grew up in more of the new energies and were good and very adept at hoping to unravel the old and bring in the new simultaneously. And I mentioned those groups, but it's definitely not pertaining only to them. But I know these energies well because, well, that's me. So I understand it. All right, loves. But yes, so we're deepening into this process in these sort of ways of being, of taking down the old and building the new are going to be helpful because it's like energy in, energy out, and you're allowing the energy of reciprocation to be present. Okay. All right. Yes, I feel like one more thing wants to come through. Let's see what else we got to kind of complete it out. Oh, they want me to actually get a unicorn card to bring in some nice energies to round it out. All right, loves, let's see what we got. Cycles. Everything has its right times. Honor the cycles of your body. Tune into the moon's magic. All right, very beautiful. So the cycles are really, if you can pop out with everything that we talked about today, I'm seeing a very big theme. And it's really about allowing ourselves to temper and balance in the extremes. Okay. And if you look at the cycles of life, whether it's the 28 days of the moon cycle or the seasonal cycles or the monthly cycles or the yearly cycles or just life cycles in general, with each cycle, we're growing and building and spiraling upon what we knew from the last cycle. So allowing yourself to just move through that, embrace them, right? And understanding that you're not looping in a way where you're stuck. It's more about that looping and that you're moving up the cycles and the spirals and you're moving forward with each step that you're taking, okay? But you're also learning how to be present, like I said, in the moment with whatever is actually truly happening, which is exceedingly powerful. Loves. This is where we are learning to embody, okay? The deeper you embody into who you are in the present moment, the more stability you hold, the more presence you hold, the more love you hold, the more compassion you hold for yourself, the more you're showing up for yourself and trusting yourself, the more you're able to do that for others. Okay, loves? All right, we're going to leave it there. I will definitely drop the Patreon group in the pin comment. And I will, when I'm ready, when that video is up, I will definitely announce it over in the community tab if you're interested in that. All right, loves, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and you're caring for yourself and resourcing up. All right, loves, have a beautiful day.